So, I got new headphones, a new microphone, and we have a new chapter of My Hero Academia that has officially released. And when it comes to this chapter, if we were to take the title at face value, My Hero Academia may be coming to an end sooner than we think. And what is in store for us in the future? Well, that's what this video is about. We're going to be discussing the future of My Hero Academia from 306 and onward. But before we do that, let's get into the intro. Hit it. Hey guys, how's it going? It is your boy, Big Blue Drew 97 here, coming at you with another My Hero Academia manga chapter discussion. Cannot speak because I'm excited because we are going to be discussing the most recent chapter of My Hero Academia, manga chapter 306, titled, if I remember correctly, and I'm looking it up, and I know for certain, the final act begins. That's very ominous because it's alluding to the idea that My Hero Academia is coming to an end, and that is a very high possibility. So basically, in this video, I want to be discussing what we should be looking forward to, or what we could be looking forward to in the story of My Hero Academia moving forward, as we see that it's most likely going into its final act. And before we get more into the discussion, I'd like to ask you, if you haven't done so, to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Big Blue Drew 97, if you like this type of content, discussions, reviews, reaction. If you like all of that, subscribe to this YouTube channel. And without the way, let's get right into it. So, to begin with, let's talk about the title for My Hero Academia manga chapter 306, which was The Final Act Begins. And this is a very interesting title because from what we have with My Hero Academia prior, for the most part, we have the story can be broken up as of now into two separate sagas, where you have the UA beginning saga, which basically covers the beginning of UA up until around All Might's defeat. But then you have, after that, the Rise of the Villain Saga, which will be like after All Might's defeat, up until the Paranormal. And this is very interesting because there's a general idea when it comes to the most likely final saga or the final act for My Hero Academia, that since we have the UA beginnings, then we have the Rise of the Villain Saga, most likely this is going to be the rise or the return of the Hero Saga, and that this would be kind of like the final act. And when it comes to what it means by final act, I don't think that it means that we just have like one act, as in like one story structure left, or potentially like you have it's more or less like you have act 1, which was UA beginnings, act 2, which was the rise of the villains, and act 3 is going to be this other act, which could be the final saga or the rise of the hero saga. But most likely it's not just going to be like one single arc. It's going to be like the previous chapters or the previous sagas, the previous acts, where it's going to be multiple arcs in this final chapter. So we most likely won't have to worry about My Hero Academia ending like fairly soon. Most likely it will be ending like within the next 2 or 3 years, I would say, at the very like most 5 years max. Because for the most part, when it comes to the Rise of the Villain Saga, if it started from where One for All and All Might took down All for One, that took the beginnings of UA, that took like maybe like 100 chapters. The Rise of the Villain Saga took around 200 chapters, more or less. And if we're talking about the final act of My Hero Academia, this could be like around almost like 100 to 200, even reaching that 250 range. Because if you remember, to those who don't know, I really do enjoy Bleach. Bleach's final like war arc with the Quincy's, that lasted almost like longer than any other story arc in the series, like pretty much takes up like half of the entire story. And that could be this story arc, this final act in My Hero Academia. It could take up like the rest of My Hero Academia. Heck, it could be, and this is very unlikely, be like the second half of this story moving forward. So it could be 200 or 300 chapters. But me personally, I think like it will probably cap out at like around 150 200 max, because I cannot see My Hero Academia going on for 500 plus chapters. I can see going it at the very least 100, at most 200. And most likely what will be happening in this final act, in this final saga, is obviously going to be Deku coming to terms with having to fight Shigaraki Tomura and eventually defeating him, as well as like resetting Hero Society and society as a whole back to a new form of status quo, where not just one hero holds the peace and holds society up, but all heroes are able to hold society up and hopefully reach a point where it fixes like any like cracks or crevices that are in society where people can fall in. I see that is where this final act is going to be focusing on, and not just that, but how heroes should be redefined and what truly makes a hero. And this ties into something else that we learned in chapter 306 as well. So, talking about what really makes a hero, in chapter 306, they basically give this type of confirmation that the day that this all went down, with the Paranormal Liberation War, on that day, all of the heroes disappeared, sort of. Like, the idea of it is, like, what society viewed as heroes, that standard of heroism, that definition of heroism, which is like, heroes are people that can be relied on and that you put all of your trust in as like civilians. That is what makes a hero. When it comes to that idea of heroes, heroes disappeared that day, either due to the fact that people lost faith in the heroes, that the heroes were utterly defeated in that war, or the fact that many heroes decided to step down when the going got tough. On that day, heroes, by the current definition that society views heroes as, disappeared, but that didn't mean that there weren't people still fighting, as we got a panel of a few heroes, Kamui Woods, Eraserhead, Mountain Lady, Mirko. We say that even though they may not be like quote unquote heroes anymore, they're still willing to fight, especially the top 3 heroes, Best Jeanist, Hawks, and Endeavor, where Endeavor's like, literally just watch me as I stop these villains. So we're going to have to focus in this final arc about what truly makes a hero, and for the most part, Deku is going to be the one to basically, from what we're seeing, set that new standard. But I do not think that he is going to do it alone, and I think that he is going to need help from the other students of Class 1A. Now, speaking of the students from Class 1A, most likely we are going to get a lot of focus, not only on Deku, because we now know that he has, for the most part, dropped out of school. So Deku is Deku is a high school dropout. Just take that in. Deku was literally one of the smartest kids in school, and this just shows how poor the school system is. Ironically enough, it's in Japan. This would make a whole lot more sense if this was an American school. Deku dropping out, being the smart student, yeah, that just makes a whole lot of sense. School sucks. But yeah, Deku is technically a high school dropout now. But what is most likely going to be happening is that you're going to have other students in Class 1A. For the most part, they question like why this is all happening, how he could do this. Specifically, Ochako is questioning why he's doing this and calling him a dummy. This is all going to be building up and most likely leading to Class 1A hopefully going on this sort of like a rescue mission, because I've seen a few videos and I've seen a few people talk about this idea, specifically one individual that says that basically what Deku just did is pull the Sasuke and leave the village, leave the Hero Society, and go out on his own. If that idea is like really accurate, then most likely what's going to happen is that you're going to have some students in Class 1A that are going to try and go after him and to try to bring him back to Japan, or at the very least when Deku is like ready to come back to America or come back to Japan from America, because something else that we see in this chapter, and this is something else that someone pointed out in their video as well, I'm pretty sure y'all all know who this person is. If you're watching this, you should be watching this person as well, Tekken 101. He points out that the eagle statue that Deku is standing on is very reminiscent of like the eagle-like statue in one of the New York's most recognizable buildings. Give me a moment. The Chrysler Building. Didn't have to look that up. Knew it off the top of my dome. But yeah, the statue that he's having is most likely reminiscent reminiscent of the Chrysler building, which means that he most likely is in New York, which is very interesting because that means that he's somehow a 16-year-old kid on his own was able to get a plane ticket, get his stuff, and literally fly to a different country and begin being a hero in that city. It could just as likely be another city in Japan, because we do know that Hirokoshi likes to name certain areas in the My Hero Academia world after things in our real world, specifically pop culture things in our real world, such as, I don't know, Tatooine Station. So potentially he could be in America, or he could be in a different city in Japan. But what is very interesting is that the specific layout of it, with the eagle statue head, and that he's standing on the building, reminiscent of Batman or even Spider-Man, who have their footing in large cities. It would make sense for Deku if he decided to go somewhere to be far away from Shigaraki, to be far away from All For One, that going to America would be a great choice for him, since it is also following in the footsteps of All Might. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that in comparing this to when Sasuke left the village, potentially the students of Class 1A, not all of them, but maybe a select few of them, may go also to America to try and find and convince Deku to come back, or when he is needed the most, they would go out and try to bring him back to Japan. And a quick idea that I want to talk about this is that this could be a good way, especially in this final act, to flesh out a few of the more lesser known Class 1A students, such as Sato, which would be very good because he could be the embodiment of Superman in New York in the US. Sero would be good as a representation of Spider-Man. Even Hagakure could be the representation of Invisible Girl, which is a character that can be stationed in New York with the Fantastic Four. Shoji can also be introduced. Not sure that if he has a direct hero counterpart, but he can also be fleshed out more. Kota can also be there because there is a whole lot of rats, a whole lot of animals in New York, so his power could be very useful in a New York setting. And just getting them fleshed out more and more, but not just leaving them behind. Also having Uraraka and Ida also come over to Japan, and even have Suyu come as well, as she's part of the team, because she didn't go with Deku and all of them to save Bakugo, but now she's correcting that mistake by going out to save Deku. And that would be very interesting. But if anyone would be going to try and meet Deku, it would probably be Uraraka, because we also bring up this idea that she's had for a little while about how she wants to be a hero that saves the other heroes, because she brings up this idea once again. It's when it comes, what makes a hero, or what type of hero, or who's the type of person that helps the hero when they are alone. Heroes put themselves apart, they separate themselves from their family, and to try and help them, to help everyone in society, but who's going to be by their side? Who's going to help them? Uraraka wants to be a hero for heroes, and a best way for her to do that is to help Deku, because he's separating himself from the group for their benefit, but now he doesn't have anyone to rely on. So most likely Uraraka will try to be that pillar, or to be that person to save Deku when he needs to be saving. So it's very interesting things that should be going on, and this may not even be in just one singular arc. This could cover multiple arcs, and most likely what we're going to do is that we're going to have a different dichotomy, seeing Deku being alone and being a hero in America or wherever he is, in comparison to the still academia part of this story, of still following these students being heroes and learning how to be heroes, but they may be able to do it in a different way. We know for a fact now that the students' parents are going to be living at UA, so most likely we're going to get more interactions between the students and their parents, and their opinions of them being heroes. But potentially what we could also see is because they're in their second year, they may be learning to be heroes in a completely different way, because now that there are less heroes in the world and the hero systems are running thin, they may have to get these kids to be more active as professional heroes, to the point where they may spend half of their time in school, but then half of their time in the field actually being heroes, saving people, stopping villains, making sure society has pillars of hope in these students. So that could be something interesting that we can see, where we would still retain the academic part, the academia of My Hero while also demonstrating the hero aspect and showing how these kids can truly be heroes, and potentially focusing even more on students in Class 1B. Something else that could be very interesting is that we could have Class 1A go to America and have Class 1B stay in Japan, and then they have to like lay down the law. They have to like keep the fort active, so we can have like an entire arc focused on Class 1B. And I think that that could be very interesting, seeing like how they take on these villains with their own quirks and getting them fleshed out as well, so they don't just become side characters while Class 1A does their own thing. So yeah, there's just a lot to talk about with the future of My Hero Academia. Even like a few ideas being thrown around how My Hero Academia could be like with Naruto, where you have Naruto and Naruto Shippuden. Caveat to that is that when it comes to Naruto, it was always Naruto. The only change was with the anime, where it went from Naruto to Shippuden with the time skip. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more. But when it comes to My Hero Academia, I think it's going to be a little bit different. I don't think that I'm starting to think about it, and I don't think that we're actually going to have this like My Hero Academia dropout or My Hero Academia vigilantes in the canon of the story. That's something else that I can talk about as well. But I think it's still going to be like My Hero Academia, because even though it's academia isn't inherently tied to school or just a specific location. Academia is just like the idea of like learning and gaining knowledge within a specific field. And when it comes to being a hero, academia could just be the world itself and learning how to be a hero. So we can still have the term academia in the title, even if like Deku isn't technically in a school setting, because it's just basically just learning and gaining knowledge. That's like the core of what academia is, and it isn't specifically tied to a building. Most likely what's going to happen is still going to be like My Hero Academia, like ongoing in like season after season with the same title. We just might get a time skip or another time skip within the story. And that's something else that I want to bring up is there going to be a major time skip? Or more specifically, is there going to be a time skip over a few years? And when I think about it a little bit more, I can see it in these two ways. I think that we either are going to have a larger time skip than what we have now, of a time skip of like around a month, where we see that Deku, wherever he is, has been most likely doing this for a month, if not a few weeks, because we see that his like bandages are torn or his clothing is torn. He's wearing Gran Torino's cape. He looks like a little bit messy. He has bags under his eyes. So either we won't get like another time skip for a while, and we'll just be focusing on what happened within that month and how the students are going to continuously grow, or potentially we could get a major time skip of a year and a half or even 2 years, where the students are about to graduate from UA, and once they graduate from UA, that's when they go into the real world, and then that's when they decide that, okay, it's been 2 years, we need to go and see Deku and we need to help him stop Shigaraki. That's a potential idea. Me personally, I think I'm going to lean more towards like we're not going to have this big major time skip, but I think we're going to have like smaller like gaps in time within the story, as we've seen recently with like a 1 month time skip. I think we're going to see more of that. We're going to have like a big story arc focused on Deku or the students of UA or the villains, and then we're going to have another arc after that. Then we're going to have a short time skip, and then we're going to have another big arc after that, focusing on development, focusing on characterization of whatever character. Then we're going to have another like small time gap, and then we're going to get to like the major battle where everything gets resolved, and I think then we're going to get like a major time skip there, where we go into the future, where we get all the Class 1A students or all of the heroes and see what they are at the end of the story. So if anything, I think we're going to see the big time skip at the end of the series, but we're going to get multiple smaller ones in between, because that's kind of like what My Hero has done this entire time. Before the Paranormal Liberation War arc, which right now is like the longest arc so far, we did have like that 3-month gap between the students returning from winter break and the start of this war. And now after this war is done, we've got a month break and a few days time skip forward, and I think that's just kind of like how it's going to be going. It may be like a month or two every other arc, or a month every other arc, just time moving a little bit slower, but we see the characters develop in real time. That's just how I view it as of now. So yeah, that's kind of my thoughts on what I think of My Hero Academia moving forward. Basically, to sum it up, I don't think that My Hero is ending anytime soon, like within the next year. I think it's going to be like within another 2 or 3 years, because if I remember correctly, wait, actually, let me think about this. What is the anniversary of My Hero Academia? How long has My Hero Academia been in Shonen Jump? Pause. Let me get that information right now. I'm so professional. So I looked it up. My Hero Academia came out July 2014, and it's 2021 right now. And My Hero Academia is about to be 7 years old. So yeah, I can see it lasting for another 3 years until it reaches that 10-year anniversary mark. So that could equate to like 150, 200 chapters, like I predicted. Most likely in the future, we're going to get, even though this may be the final act, we're most likely going to get multiple arcs after that, focusing on Deku and the students. Most likely Deku is in America, and most likely the students, including Uraraka, are probably going to be very concerned about him and try to get him back. So they may be traveling over to America, because Uraraka is the type of person who wants to be the hero to save other heroes, as well as potentially, like I said, Deku being in America. Just getting also just something I didn't bring up, Deku getting character development. That's probably going to be a large focus in this chapter, but just getting more characterization of the students. So yeah, that's all I really want to discuss in this video. There's still a lot that I can discuss in this video, but this video is going on for a little bit of time, and if I continue on, it's just going to be a long rant, and I don't really want to do that right now. So hopefully you enjoyed this discussion video. Leave down below any other topics that I might have missed. Maybe I can make another video on it. Leave your thoughts down below. Did you like the chapter of My Hero Academia 306? Do you think that My Hero Academia is coming to an end anytime soon? Do you think it's coming to an end within a year, 2 years, or do you think that it's going to end around the same time that One Piece is going to end? So you know, another 10 years. Leave your thoughts down below, subscribe to my YouTube channel, leave a like, leave a comment, hit the notification bell, do all that cool jazz, and hopefully I'll be able to catch you in the next video! And do you like how my voice sounds right now? Yeah, I love this mic. It's a Blue Yeti. Bye guys!